Welcome to Amuse's Musings, episode 5. My name is Victoria. I am a breathwork facilitator, an actor, a writer, a business owner, and I now live in Knoxville. I just moved in with my boyfriend, and I technically still have my place in Atlanta, so I will be in between the two cities, but predominantly here. So I cannot wait to explore even more of the nature and food and all the fun things in Tennessee. So today I will be answering a question that was submitted anonymously. And just FYI, if you want to ask a question or present a topic, you can do so using the link in the description. So I'm going to read the question now. It's a two-part question. Is watching porn bad? Does watching gay porn make me gay? First off, thank you so much for asking this question. I appreciate your vulnerability. This is a topic that keeps coming up in conversations on social media platforms. And I just wanted to start by saying that nothing is good or bad per se, just as it is on its own. And I am a big believer in moderation. In general, do I think watching porn is problematic? No. But like I was saying, everything in moderation. So if your porn consumption is starting to negatively impact your relationships, your mental health, your well-being, the way you view sex, the way you have sex, anything in that realm, it is something to look at. It is something that you can be addicted to. Anything that releases dopamine, anything that is pleasurable can become an addiction, sadly. And we all have our vices. Who's to say one is worse than the other? I probably have watched porn less than 10 times in my entire life, but I have my own shit that I do. And I think instead of labeling it as this bad, shameful thing, it's an opportunity to get curious about why we are doing something. What am I avoiding feeling? What am I getting out of doing this? Why am I doing this? Just as simple as that, just starting there. And when we are being introspective around our vices, it's very important to come from a place of love and compassion, because a lot of times we're going to be talking to this younger version of ourselves. So childhood, teenage years, young adult, this part of ourselves, chances are they didn't learn how to regulate in a healthy way, which is why as adults, we are now grasping for drugs, alcohol, food, porn, social media, etc. to try and feel safe. It may seem odd to look at alcoholism or other types of addiction as a way to feel safe, but at the end of the day, it is a tool to self-soothe. And when we are self-soothing, we are not thinking about all of the things in our life that are bothering us, stressing us out, causing anxiety. So that is going to create a sense of safety, at least temporarily. And consuming porn to a point where it negatively impacts your life is not an exception. So if you are not sure whether you are a porn addict or if you are doing it in a manageable way, watching it in a manageable way, I did research some things for you. Let's define pornography addiction or problematic pornography use, abbreviated as PPU. A behavioral addiction characterized by an overwhelming compulsion to view pornographic content despite negative consequences. It's a pattern of compulsive sexual behavior that can interfere with daily life, relationships, and overall well-being. I also wanted to define the word addiction. Addiction is defined as not having control over doing, taking, or using something to the point where it could be harmful to you. And we talked about dopamine. Let's go over it again. Dopamine is the primary chemical released in the brain's reward system when someone experiences addiction. This neurotransmitter is responsible for feelings of pleasure and motivation, and its release reinforces certain behaviors, making them more likely to be repeated. I will link all of this below, but I did see when I was researching that certain types of drugs can cause your brain to release 10 times more dopamine than it would during exercise, something that causes your body to release dopamine in a healthy and regulated way. So I don't know the exact amount of dopamine that is released when looking at porn, but it is because it can be an addiction. I imagine it's similar to the drugs that they listed. Okay, signs of porn addiction: excessive spending on pornographic material, sometimes at the expense of necessities, engagement in risky sexual behavior, the use of porn to cope with difficult emotions like pain, anxiety, and sadness, consuming porn at risky times and moments, feeling anger at being advised to reduce porn consumption, an inability to quit porn despite efforts to, experiencing shame following porn use but being unable to stop the habit, progressing to more extreme forms of pornography to find pleasure, finding sexual intercourse to be less satisfying, hiding porn habits from sexual partners and others. If you related to, I'd say, 2 or more of those, then maybe that is something to look at. I would highly recommend working with a therapist. I, of course, would recommend breath work or another somatic therapy to really get into your body and connect with what's going on. What are you avoiding feeling? Like I was saying earlier, what is the root? When did you first start looking at porn? Oftentimes we can get in the routine of doing something and it starts to escalate and we feel like we're beyond help. There's no way out. And that is not true. There are resources, professionals that can help you move through the trauma that is underneath this addiction. I also researched the second part of your question, which is, does watching gay porn make me gay? The overall conclusion was no. Watching gay porn does not make you gay. I don't know your gender or sexual orientation. I know that gay, the word gay can be like a blanket term, so I'm not assuming anything, but the Google resources say sexual orientation is complex. It's believed to be primarily influenced by a combination of genetic, hormonal, environmental factors, not external stimuli like pornography. Pornography reflects fantasies. What you watch in porn, including gay porn, may not reflect your actual sexual orientation or desires in real life. Arousal is not necessarily attraction. Being aroused by gay porn doesn't mean you are sexually attracted to men in reality. This particular article is talking about gay men. Arousal can be triggered by various factors and it's separate from your core sexual orientation. So, in short, your sexual orientation is a fundamental part of who you are, and watching pornography cannot change that. So I hope that that answers your question. That was my initial thought when I read it. There are a lot of fantasies I have had in my mind that I'm like, I don't know if I would need this to actually happen in real life. Some of them definitely not. So I do agree, especially with this arousal part, that like things that arouse us when we are masturbating or having sex or whatever, those things don't need to like actually happen for us to be fulfilled. And of course, there is nothing wrong with being gay or having a fantasy or kink that you do want to explore, as long as you're not harming yourself or anyone else, unless both parties are into that. So I hope that was helpful. I've included some additional resources in the description. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you, please send to a friend, comment, shoot me an email. I would love to know your thoughts, and I will see you next time.